Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This episode is a little bit different, as I'm going to explain in just a few minutes. But in my message that I just gave, I didn't go into a lot of detail about how heroic and about how great people have been. There are stories of heroism that come along with my topic today that it never ceases to amaze how great humanity is, how much people are willing to give, how much people are willing to help. You think that when things are getting bad in this world, that we're losing good people. People come up and do some amazing things, and you're going to hear about what's happening in Waverly in this particular podcast. But I want to let you know that I've gotten calls from Georgia, North Carolina, Kentucky, Scotland. I've gotten messages from India. I've gotten messages from all sorts of places, people wanting to know what they can do to help. This is what football family is all about. Family. And when people are in need, watching people step up, taking a role to help others, it's amazing. But as you listen to this particular podcast, this episode, I want you to look online, look at some of the devastation of the topic that we're going to talk about today, and see what you can do to help if you're able to. Thank you for listening to Footballers Family. Welcome back to the Footballers Family podcast. I'm recording this on a Thursday, and I will release it a little bit later on today. But if you have followed news this week and have heard of a little town in Tennessee called Waverly, Tennessee, I want to let you know what's going on. I am a preacher in a little town called Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, about 7 miles outside of Waverly. Many of the members where I preach live in Waverly. Many people that I've grown to love live in Waverly. And this past Saturday, about 9:00, the Trace Creek in Waverly started to flood. And being 7 miles out, I didn't get the opportunity to go in and help people escape. We were pretty much blocked in. But for a number of hours, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 hours, Trace Creek rose. And if you see the topography of Waverly, from where it started to where it settled, it's kind of like a bowl. So we had several inches of rain hit in a short period of time, it just basically stood right over Humphreys County, Waverly, and just engulfed an area that is right next to, in fact, it encompasses where my son and my daughters attended school. The junior high and the high school where my son attends, which is a little bit further down and was affected by another creek. And the elementary school with my youngest goes to school, we're all underwater, several feet, in fact. In that area, we were able to go Saturday and look. And then Sunday, my son and my wife and I went and helped move some things. Over 20 people died. One story in particular, a father had 4 of his children tied in his arms, and the water swept away 2 7-month-old set of twins, and they, of course, died. And yesterday, my wife was out helping comb an area for a 16-year-old little girl, and they found her just a few feet away from where my wife was. This area, if you were to go there, and like I said, my son, my wife, and I did on Sunday, houses were literally picked up and moved off of their foundations. The foundations were fine. The houses were put in the middle of the streets. They were put in neighboring yards. In fact, one house went several feet. And one of my son's friends, as he was getting out of his car, fighting to get away from the water, he watched two people get hit by that house and drown. One of our members lost his sister because she got swept away and got stuck underneath a car. When people say flash flooding, when I was growing up, I thought flash flooding was something up to your ankles. But ever since 2010, if anybody knows their history, Nashville and Waverly and was hit by a flood. In fact, my son and I and my wife were up at Nissan Stadium. They had the Titans Kids Day, and I was able to go up there. My son didn't really care for it, but I signed him up for it anyway. It started raining, so they had everything in the concourse. But by the time we had left, Nissan Stadium, because of the Cumberland, had flooded. We went to the Great Escape there on Charlotte Avenue for their free comic book day. And by the time we had left, that had flooded. And I thought, maybe this is not a good day for us to be out anywhere. That was awful. This was so much worse. Let me say this. When you hear somebody say flooding or there's a potential for flooding, believe them. There's stories about people. In fact, one of our members, her husband nearly got pulled away. He was trying to help her. She had to literally get on a bench and then put a chair and take a pair of hedge clippers and chisel out the ceiling tiles to get up onto the roof to keep from drowning because the water came in so fast. And I asked somebody, I said, why did this happen? How did this happen? And they said, if you ever see on TV or cartoons where the water kind of trickles in and it comes in as a gush, that's what happened. Things started to block, the outlets for the creek, and it just came over the edges to the point that it couldn't hold anymore, and it started doing that. This is in Waverly, Tennessee. You could probably see on videos some of the things, but let me tell y'all, folks, what you see on TV is not anywhere near how bad it is. I'm a preacher by trade. I've heard stories in people's lives and typically I don't hear a lot of good stuff. People found out what I do and they came to me. My son and I stayed overnight at a church 2 nights this week to give people some safety, let them know that somebody's watching out after them. I heard stories about people nearly dying. In fact, 2 ladies I saw today, she said there was a man, she calls him her angel. He literally went in a helicopter and got her off the top of her roof. I mean, if you remember Katrina, that's what was happening. What happened down in New Orleans, that's what was happening in Waverly, Tennessee. Landlocked, several hundred miles away from water like that. And again, this doesn't have a lot to do with football, although I'm going to tell you something in just a minute that does have something to do with football. Don't take flash flood warnings for granted. If somebody comes up to your door and say it is about to flood, get out. Get out. There's nothing you can do about that. Take those things seriously, please. I mentioned last week about traditions, about valuing things like that. My kids' school year is pretty much shot this year, and this is only in August. There's traditions that we're going to hold even more precious this year, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas. We're going to hold them more precious because we were within 7 miles of the worst of this. It could have been us. I'm sitting here telling you these things. It's therapy for me, to be honest. But I want y'all to know that please value people today, even more so than you did before. Now, if you want to help, there are a lot of people out there who are trying to take money from you. Be careful. Message me at Jeremy_McFarland, and I can give you some legitimate people or places, organizations to send money to. This week, my church has several items outside in the pavilion that we can't store anywhere. That's great. But within a month, this stuff will probably be gone and we'll need more things. People had literally lost everything. I had a guy Saturday. He came crying to me and said, my dog drowned because she couldn't get out of the house. And you think, well, that's a dog. If you're like me, I've got a few dogs. If you're like me, dogs are family. There's nothing I can say to make that better. And that's something that drives me crazy because I want to help people like that. If you want to help people in Waverly, you can, like I said, get a hold of me and send things. You can send things. I will give you organizations to go to. Red Cross is something good to go to as well. But I can show you some things that have worked for us here that are trustworthy, that will use your money properly. Number one. Number two, you know that I am the biggest Titans homer that you're going to find anywhere around here. Yesterday, I found out from Jim Wyatt Sports, I think it's at Jim Wyatt on Twitter, that the Tennessee Titans are donating $50,000 to the recovery in the efforts here in Waverly. $50,000 to recovery, to everything else they need. But what's neat about this as well, my son is actually in the band, so I'm going to have to take him up on this. I guess I have to do this. They're going to offer the Waverly Central High School Tigers 1 to 2 games to be able to be played in the Nissan Stadium. The stadium, it's washed out. Everything in the high school is destroyed like that. So they're going to get to play high school games if this works out in Nissan Stadium. I guess I have to go. But I want to tell you this. How many high schoolers you know can say, I got to play football in an NFL stadium? Like I said, guys, hold the people you love close. I just got through listening to a John Mayer song called Say. It says, say what you need to say. Don't hold it in. Say what you need to say. Value people. Value moments. In all things, value each other. Thank y'all and have a great day.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique unique items with a retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row 1 catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row 1 Pictorum Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.